Hi, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, good, my friend. How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I've been to the Bitcoin conference, and you were there. You were speaking. Lots of people. You are almost like a motivational speaker. Like a lot of people are, listening to you, and they want to hear what are your thoughts about where is it going, and since when are you in this industry? Let's say.
I mean, specifically with Bitcoin since 2016. So I'm not really, that it's not that long. I mean, it's 5 years now, but I think I've prior to that, I was always an entrepreneur. And then much earlier than that, like in 2010, 2011, I was around the gold silver crowd. So I sort of had an understanding of, just the stupidity that central banks and governments play with the money. And so I already had that ingredient in my head. So I think it helped me really accelerate my, I guess, understanding or appreciation of the importance of Bitcoin more than maybe what most people who are coming into contact with it for the first time, might experience.
Mm-hmm. So this is like a little bit of the beginning of this interview with you about yourself. I'm just, I've watched so many episodes with you, and I know you have so much to say about, the old world and the way that governments and institutions are running, and they're taking our taxes and they're deciding what to do with it, which I totally agree with you. But what are you trying to say to us, that we have more power than we think with Bitcoin?
Of course, yeah. So like for me, fundamentally speaking, if you allow people to interact with each other freely, that they come up with interesting things. Yeah, you get a few, 1 in a million assholes who want to kill people and rob people and all that sort of stuff. But by and large, human beings, you put them in a place together and they figure out a mechanism via which to cooperate. Government has sort of, it originally emerged as a way where we could elect representatives to, help enforce property rights. What's unfortunately happened over the last, I mean, you could say it's a couple hundred years, or you could say it's a couple millennia, but what's unfortunately happened is these idiots who we originally empowered to enforce property rights have now thrown away the notion of property rights and are enforcing whatever the fuck idea they come up with every morning that they wake up. I saw this morning on Twitter, like someone started a lowercase movement. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the level of bravery that we have in the world today, is people fighting against using caps locks on the computer. Like, it's just complete mindlessness. So what we're getting is these bureaucrats, instead of doing the very small job that we've asked them to do, which is enforce property rights, they have expanded their notion of what they think they should be doing. And it's this like never-ending parasite which sucks money out of us. So like it's a racketeering effort. They come and suck the value that we produce amongst each other as human beings, and then they use it to create stupid laws and regulations and restrictions and idiocy basically. And in the process of doing that, they break everything. And then they start pointing to everything that's broken and saying, look, this is broken, we have to fix it. And then they say, the only way to fix it is if we take more money from you. And it creates this cycle of degeneration of society. And that's what we're seeing today. Like, many people say, oh, it's the best period, to be alive. And I disagree with that. I think just because we have, a lot more technological stuff going on at the moment, people are not happier. There's more depressed people, there's more fat people, there's more mindless people, there's more just stupidity going on everywhere around the world. So it's just, yeah, I fundamentally believe that, if people are left alone to figure things out for themselves, we could do it way better than having a set of bureaucrats who think that they know what's right for everybody. And Bitcoin fundamentally changes the dynamics of how society works, which is, when the issuer of the money has the full control and capacity to not only issue it, but regulate it and decide what to do with the money, they have the full power to do whatever they want to do in this situation. Whereas Bitcoin changes the relationship. And the only way you can get my Bitcoin is if you offer me something that I want more than my Bitcoin. So all of a sudden, you don't have an overlord subject relationship like we have today between us and the government. You have a customer and service provider relationship. And those who are governing us go back to actually providing a fucking service instead of playing dictator every week. And that, Bitcoin, like by changing that base piece, all of the stuff downstream shifts. And that's why it's like the most important thing that's happening today.
Wow. We can talk about this for hours. And I remember like even, Estonia, I think when years ago, they had this e-residency, if you remember, that they issued. That was, at least some friends called me and says, look, this government thinks like a startup company. They actually want to serve us. They want to make sure all the digital tools are good for us. And that was a new concept to me, even in schools and education, that we are fed, as you said, with the worst every day, the worst service. There's no customer, nobody cares about the customer here. So I was like thinking about all these examples, and of course, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean, at the moment, the way government works, it's like walking into a furniture shop to buy a lounge, and then the people selling you the lounge, every lounge is the same. And when you walk in, they spit on your face, they slap you, they charge you triple for the lounge. And then when you walk out, they slap you on the face again. It's like, there's no service whatsoever. They don't give a shit. And if you don't like it, if you complain about being slapped in the face or, or the couch costing you 3 times as much, you go to jail. Doesn't sound like a great deal to me.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been into the Bitcoin conference. What was your experience from there? The stage, the off stage, the people that you met. What was your goal by going there?
Yeah, my goal at conferences like this is always to deepen relationships with people that I want to be around. So I did a tweet today, which is I said, if you care deeply about humanity, you're not only in Bitcoin, but you're doing your best to help people understand Bitcoin. I said, if you're just here to make a quick buck or play the greater fool theory game, or if you're here to fleece someone or scam someone, then you're probably fucking around with shit coins and you're creating your own coin and you're doing something in the crypto, the scam space. And I said, I know who I want to surround myself with. So for me, the conference was an opportunity to surround myself with good Bitcoiners, like people who deeply, deeply care about having, making a positive impact on society and not doing it in a way where I had every opportunity with my company to go and list shit coins, to make more money, to to turn it into I had, the EOS Foundation and the Dash Foundation offering me ridiculous amounts of money to make that the primary thing of my app. And I said, no, I want to help people build long-term wealth in a money that doesn't have a foundation behind it, that doesn't have an issuer behind it, that doesn't have some organization that's going to pay me fucking marketing dollars to put it on there. That's not what I'm doing here. So, that's the kind of people I want to surround myself with. And there was a good cohort of those at the conference, but as with any large conference, there was a bunch of other shitcoiners there and stuff like that, which, you can't keep them out. All I can hope is that when the shitcoiners came there, they maybe had an opportunity to get a sense of what really matters, like that there is something profoundly important about the emergence of Bitcoin, as opposed to the next fucking pump and dump, get rich quick scheme.
Yeah. So in order for Bitcoin and this whole industry around it to succeed, we need to remember these values and keep on, going in the right direction. That's what you mean.
Yeah, but it's not only just remembering the values, because most people talk the talk. I had an argument with Ari Paul on Twitter, and he's sitting there, he's always justifying how his fund is doing crypto interesting stuff, and I'm like, dude, stop fucking around. All you're doing is you're creating a shitcoin. You and your buddies are getting in at 1 cent, and then you're dumping it on retail for 80 cents, and you're calling it innovation. That's not helping anybody. Yeah, you're lining your pockets, and fucking good on you. And to some degree, I believe in economic Darwinism, which is if there's idiots buying this thing, it's on them, right? But it's not helping the fucking world. And, he'll sit there and talk about how Bitcoin is a profoundly important thing. And he'll say he remembers why we're here, but his actions speak louder than his words. And so that's the thing. It's like, don't tell me what you believe. Show me what you're doing. Show me your bank account, show me your statement. I'll then tell you what you believe. And I feel like that's the I don't know if I should call it ethics or intestinal fortitude, whatever, that's kind of lacking in a lot of the space. I mean, I even hate calling it a space because it's just basically Bitcoin and stupidity, basically, in my mind.
Yeah. So I guess I don't need to ask you, what do you think about CBDCs and coins?
I mean, look, CBDCs were always going to come. This is the central banker's dream. Like, imagine, you as a central banker having full control, at your fingertips of what to do with the money. If you want people to spend more, you put an expiry date on your money. Like, if you don't like this person and what his opinion is, you turn off his money. Like, holy shit, this is a central banker's, an authoritarian dictator's dream. So it was always going to come. And this is, again, why Bitcoin is so important, is that it emerged just at the right time to give us an alternative. And, when I think about CBDCs, like, I put Ethereum, Cardano, all these in the same bucket. They are CBDCs not run by a moron 60-year-old central banker, but by a 25-year-old retarded coder who's basically a virgin. You know what I mean? Like, he's got no life experience whatsoever. So all we're doing is we're swapping the dictator for just someone younger who is aspiring to be the next dictator of the world. So that's why, like, my prediction, and call me on this, in the next 5 years, is that because governments and bureaucrats are so incompetent, they will have trouble putting their own CBDC together. So what they'll do is they'll do a partnership with someone like the Ethereum Foundation or Cardano or Solana or whatever, and they'll introduce their CBDCs on that network. And those guys will be more than happy to do it because they don't give a fuck about why Bitcoin exists. They just want to make some money. And that's that ethos that is very different. So that's exactly what's going to happen.
Wow. This is crazy. You're taking me like few years to the future. And it's sad, but it makes sense. And that's what we need to keep on the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin community alive and strong. How do you divide your time? Because I see you're doing lots of podcasts and interviews and education, and that's amazing. And I think that's the way I got to know you. But you also have a company to run, right? How do you divide your time? What's going on with your company and the focus of the company?
Yeah, I mean, I live and breathe Bitcoin. So luckily, everything that I do is kind of in the same sphere. So I'm able to, at least whatever I do from an educational standpoint or from a, helping people learn about Bitcoin standpoint, etc., it has a positive impact for the business. So that's a good thing. But I think fundamentally, the way I'm able to do it is I've spent time looking for good people in the business to operate that, which then gives me a bit of latitude to go out and really act as not only the pioneer for the business, but also, I mean, in some way, shape, or form, act as I don't want to blow smoke up my ass, but some sort of pioneer in the industry, I guess, where I can.
I can say that about you. If that's okay. I think that you're doing a good job in this. I want to ask you about more ways that you can even contribute more of your time, whether if it's, I don't know, a book, an audiobook, or other formats, because I think you have a very focused and clear message, and I'm coming from Israel. Israelis are very honest. They say what they feel.
Yeah.
Like, we don't go around. So, I saw you on the stage. I was watching your interviews, and I said, what, this guy really is so sharp. He's so focused that people ask you about governments and and education. Should schools be run by governments or by a private sector? And I think you said that private is good. Why not?
Of course.
Private creates competition. Private, levels up. So I'm seeing that you're very, very focused, and I'm just I think that we need more people like you, and that's why I'm happy that you joined the Coin Nation Summit, that you dedicate your time. How can people follow you? Where is the best place? Where are your platforms, your favorite ones?
Okay, so it depends on the flavor people want. So if they want a more abrasive or brutal flavor, my Twitter is where you want to go. But be warned, my Twitter is savage. Okay, so I don't take any prisoners. I just destroy people on Twitter. So if that's your flavor, go for that. The podcast is probably the next level down. So the podcast is more involved discourse. I still do my best to dismantle stupidity on the podcast, and I do it with really great hosts. With really great guests, but it's more thought out. Then I would say if you want to get into my deeper philosophical stuff and the thinking, etc., is definitely the writing. So I've got a Medium, which is just Svetski.medium.com, and I've started writing for Bitcoin Magazine on a regular basis. And there's some really good pieces on there. Like there's one which Michael Saylor just tweeted out a couple of weeks ago, which was why Bitcoin, not shitcoin. And his message was, he said, if you care about humanity, your family, your country, and the future, read this piece, why Bitcoin, not shitcoin. So and that, like, I felt was a really good validation as to, I sat down and I just took the time to look at Bitcoin through an economic lens, through a philosophic lens, and through a moral lens. And I hope I did a good job. Perhaps the validation is there that I did, for people to remember, why the fuck are we here in the first place? Are we here to just replicate the shitstorm that we have today? Or are we here to actually transform society a little bit and move it into a path that doesn't yield the lowercase movement as a form of bravery? It's like a fucking, we live, honestly, we're living in such a joke that, like, it's embarrassing to be alive at the moment. Like, I look around, I'm like, what's wrong with you idiots? Like, it's, so we need to fix that, man. And that's what Bitcoin does.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you before about Miami. Miami is, I think you said that they're putting on their term sheet, like Bitcoin, on their treasury. What are they doing over there, and how can other people, do the same thing, or other ecosystems?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a jurisdiction of any kind, whether you're a city, whether you're a municipality, whether you're, I mean, it doesn't matter what sort of entity you are, individual, corporate, city, municipality, whatever. If you have any intent on preserving some of the wealth that you have, like, you'd be an idiot not to put some of that in Bitcoin at the moment, first of all. And number two is, if you start to do that, you'll start to discover that, the kind of people you attract to your jurisdiction, to your zone, to your friendship circle, to your company, to whatever you're doing, is the kind of people that want to think deeper. And at the end of the day, what are we here for? We're human beings. We're here to create memories. We're here to magnify the experience with people that we care about, that are aligned in terms of vision, in terms of aspiration and everything like that. We're here to be around people that want to see us rise and that challenge us, when we're not, when we're lying to ourselves or whatever the case is. And you know what, like, the only community that I've found in my entire life that is so consistent across so many of these dimensions is Bitcoiners. So, what I'm noticing in Miami is that there's life in this place, because people are noticing something's happening here. There's interest. There's an opportunity to create something. Like, you give people a little bit of freedom, man, they create things. And there's nothing else in the world that spells freedom more than Bitcoin. So, if you're a jurisdiction of any kind, it's the lowest hanging fruit. If you're not doing it, you're fucking out of your mind, basically. So yeah, that's I think a way to describe Miami and what they're doing right.
Very strong message. We have lots of also government people, curious people, founders of companies, all watching you, and I'm sure they take a lot of inspiration by your wisdom and what you experienced with. And I think it's super important, at least for me. And yeah, I'd love to continue this conversation. I'd love you to stay around, and maybe we're gonna do even a follow-up one with some
Absolutely.
predictions in the Bitcoin space. Do you have any prediction regarding the price, or usually you don't like to?
Yeah, I mean, the price for me, I wouldn't have a clue, like, because me personally, I wanted to stay low for longer because I can accumulate more. Because I mean, the inevitability of it, I always give people this mental framework. Like, people think Bitcoin's had bull runs. You have not seen a bull run yet. Like, when we reach cent to sat parity, and I'm writing an article on this now, is like when 1 cent equals 1 Satoshi. And when we start to move the thinking away from the price of Bitcoin to the price of Satoshis, watch what happens. I guarantee you this decade, there will be days where, or we will see the day where 1 Satoshi goes from 1 cent to 2 cents in a single day. Now tell me, what does that, like, that movement sounds very small, right? Oh, it doubled, went from 1 cent to 2 cents. What happened to the price of Bitcoin? Can you do the math?
You want to do it for us?
1 cent to 2 cents on a Satoshi means Bitcoin moved $1 million in a day.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what's going to happen in one day. So people think we've seen a bull run. You ain't seen fucking nothing yet. We're still at the $10,000 a day movement. Wait till Bitcoin's moving $1 million in a day. And that's going to happen this decade. So that's kind of, you know, I can't tell you what it'll be at the end of this year, but we will see $1 million moves per day before the end of this decade. That I'm almost willing to bet my life on.
And you remember that Michael Saylor, in many of his interviews, always try to explain to people that if they want to, let's say they want to buy the Tesla or they want to buy something, they can borrow against the Bitcoin, right? They told them. So this makes sense for you? Is that the message that you think is relevant for people to start to understand that the Bitcoin is an asset? You actually are taxed if you're converting into fiat. So if you really want to buy something, you borrow against it.
That's it. It's funny that you mentioned this, because the next, the way we're advancing Amber is we're actually going to build out the capacity for people to unlock purchasing power from their Bitcoin without selling it, so that they can actually use or benefit from some of that increased purchasing power, but never let go of the underlying asset, which is Bitcoin. So it's not ready yet, but you know, maybe if we do a follow-up in 3-4 weeks, we can have a conversation about, because I'm working on something which I honestly think is going to fundamentally change the game globally for people who hold Bitcoin and people who want to move into Bitcoin. So I think we may be, if I can pull this off, we may be one of the biggest Bitcoin companies in the world in the next few years. So
wow,
something definitely want to talk to people about.
Thank you very much, Aleks. I'm telling you, the best interview. We're going to follow up after, but we'll definitely connect, and good luck to you and the company.
I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.